Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contract, service is month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Fitness Podcast, your source for all things fitness. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Dr. Darian Parker on the line, and he is the co-owner over at Epic Leisure Management, and he's also host of Dr. D's Social Network podcast. Darian, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, man, I always love having fellow podcasters on the line, so excited to get into today's show. So just to kick us off, tell us a little bit more about your background. So how did you get started in your career?
Well, I think fitness and wellness have been a majority of my life. Ever since I can remember growing up, I was involved in athletics and exercise. My parents are very active. And I remember my father telling me, make your hobby your job, do something you really love to do that you feel like you want to go to on a regular basis. So I just followed my joy and ambition in exercise through my education, my bachelor's degree in exercise, leadership and kinesiology, my master's, similar thing, all the way through my doctorate in sports education leadership with an emphasis in behavior modification and exercise in sports settings. And it just felt like it was just the thing for me to do. It's been a part of my life completely. And I just used that fuel and that energy to build a career out of it. And I'm very fortunate that I've been able to make fitness a full-time, long-term right around 20-year career at this point. So I'm very grateful for it.
Man, that's awesome. I love this, and I love success stories like this. Let's go a little bit. I want to go further into the business. So tell us a little bit more about what you're doing over at Epic Leisure Management, please.
Yes. So Epic Leisure Management is for myself and my business partner. We're co-owners of it. We came from a very large company that was in 33 countries. Related to leisure management and consulting, health and wellness amenities for luxury brands and hotels, private residential communities, corporate campuses, and we really enjoyed doing that. But it felt like after being in a company for over a decade, him 20, me for around 12, that we wanted to do our own thing, become our own bosses. And initially, I just really left because I wanted to do something different, and I started a live virtual personal training service several years ago. And as I was starting that business, my co-owner and I, we decided let's do something together as well that we both know what to do. So we created Epic Leisure Management and to doing a very similar thing that we did with the previous company, which is working in early planning, design, feasibility studies, financial management, consulting, doing the pre-opening and the actual turnkey operations of luxury health and wellness amenities for that. And the goal is to be small on purpose, to not be a gigantic company, to be a company that could focus on the people that we're working with, to focus the time on the employees that we have, and to really love them and care about them and be able to give them a quality experience and a productive experience without being a giant corporation for that. So we really have spent a lot of time focusing on people first and making sure that we're providing the best possible human-based experience for people.
Man, that's awesome. I love the concept, and I love what you're doing. I mean, it just makes a lot of sense. Can you tell us a little bit more about just the overall market that you're working in? Because there's some people listening right now that are, some are fitness enthusiasts, some are aspiring to get into the business of fitness, and so can you talk a little bit more about the market? Because I think one of the important things here is that you've been doing, as you mentioned, 20 years or so, or maybe more, and you've managed to make a nice, thriving career. What kind of advice would you give to that person that's out there listening that wants to kind of maybe do the same?
Well, I would say, one, the market that we're working in is generally the high-end market of luxury brands, so high-end hotels, private residential facilities, HOA communities, membership. I really like that environment, one, because I think that the focus is on the service and the value behind the service is a symbol for what people are really into. While there's revenue expectations and things of that nature, they're not as the same as it would be if it was a standalone business and, it's a very large commercial gym. These are very private-based amenities that happen to be part of a larger amenity, let's say a community, private residential community. The goal is selling homes, getting land, those type of things, land development, not the fitness, facility within the community for the residents. It's an important part, but it's more of a marketing piece to sell homes. And so because of that, everything that happened at those facilities is very value-oriented in a sense. That's a very good work environment to be in because the focus is like how well can we make these services and so that people are using them. Usage is really important more than anything, more than how much money is this facility going to make for that. So I think, for me, I like that environment. We like working in those environments. They're very intimate versus a lot of people in the business, they get in through the commercial fitness club environments, your 24-hour fitnesses, Lifetime, Equinox, and those things can be good, but there's a different expectation. So my advice is, what are the expectations that are for the setting that you may be in? And does that expectation align with what you want for your life and work?
That's awesome. Well said, and I love that you bring this up because I've seen I do a lot of interviews, so I'm going on 3,000 interviews, and some of the more savvy, in my opinion, fitness professionals in general recognize what you just said. And the bottom line is this: nothing against 24-hour fitness or these, but I mean, because they're part of it. They do their job and they hold their and they have their place in the market. Whatever the place is, I'm not defining, but they have their place, and it's an important place. But that being said, speaking strictly from the fitness professional side of things, it's like, if you're thinking about quality of living or long term, and also how you want to live your life, like if you have X amount of HOAs or otherwise, and you have the same type of clientele that are genuinely excited to see you, and you're not pressured to necessarily, and not saying that any one of these particular gyms do, but everybody has their numbers, so you're not trying to get a membership or this or worried about X, Y, Z. Instead of that, it's more about how good can you perform your service so that your people are ranting and raving, because the bottom line is they're trying to sell homes. They're selling $100,000, maybe $1 million items, depending on the community, versus $49 membership or $100 membership.
Yeah,
so there's a way bigger thing there for you to perform and for your value. And so when that community's ranting and raving about you because you're awesome and you're amazing, it can also translate to long-term good income and them looking at you as a valued part of or an extension of their team. Not just another, I don't want to say cog, but just another component, right? It's just different. So I love it. I think it's really smart. And then the market, when you think about the market, so this is something that people don't really necessarily think of that often, but okay, so I'm in SoCal, I'm in LA, so how many 24-hour fitnesses, how many Equinoxes are there? Okay. Now how many HOAs are there?
Right.
like
Exactly.
just to market these. So like people, instead of going after the same clients that are already at these gyms, like some of the savvy ones have kind of figured out what you're saying. It's like there's infinite HOA, not infinite, but you know what I mean. Like irrespective to gyms, right? Like there's only so many gyms, but if we're talking about communities, there's a ton. So I love what you're doing. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
And I love the platform that you've created. So let's close out by talking a little bit more about your podcast. So I love promoting other podcasters and shows to my audience. So tell us a little bit more about your podcast, and I want my listeners to go check it out and what kind of content they can expect. So Dr. D's Social Network Podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Initially, it started out as primarily a fitness-based podcast, and which is great to have a huge fitness network of colleagues and things of that nature. But I started to realize that I'm so much more than that. There's so much more that I'm interested in than just talking about fitness, which I love to do. Don't get me wrong. I like that. But my mind is all over the place. So I wanted to just take as many different people from many different walks of life and have just genuine, open, and honest conversations. So the content is really a jukebox of content. It's anything and everything that encapsulates the human experience. So and I think we're up to around 162 episodes, all around an hour plus in length. The average is about an hour and 3 minutes runtime per episode. And the focus can be literally on tactical training, fitness and wellness. The next episode could be on women's health. Next one is on spirituality. I have ones coming up on prison reform. I've had artists come on, poets, things of that nature. Literally anything you could think of that interests me, that it's in my mind of something that could be a very interesting topic that maybe you haven't spent a lot of time thinking about. I try to really focus on bringing things about the human experience that maybe you haven't uncovered yet or is new to you. And that gets me really excited. So you can be assured if you go over and you check out the podcast that you can scroll through all the episodes and find something you want to listen to. And I realize it's not for everybody, but nobody is for everybody. There's different, no one's perfect. No one has content that every single human wants to listen to all the time. So I just try to provide.
Except for missionmatters.com. Everybody can.
Okay, well, we're not going to start. Well,
I had to do it to you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He did. I threw up a softball and Adam hit it. That's how it works right here. But I wanted to create a lot of content so you could say, hey, let me scroll through and see something that maybe is very interesting. Like I have a lady coming on who's going to talk about her experience in a doomsday cult. I don't know. I think that's interesting, something different.
Wow.
I have a whole week of prison-based episodes where I have death row inmates calling in from death row who have done
the board.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. I will tackle any subject, anything. And it's almost an investigative reporter style.
It is.
I will really tackle.
Wow, that's amazing.
Things. Yeah, so I think anybody who likes podcasts and wants to be exposed to a different side of stories, that I have a good option for that.
That's awesome, Darian. No, great work.
Thank you.
And you answered my next question, which was what range or what kind of audience, and you said from cult to death row to fitness to so that's awesome, man. I love it. That's definitely unique content. So that being said, Darian, I could talk to you about this all day long, especially now that we brought up podcasting, but we're about out of time for this episode. So that being said, if somebody wants to follow up to learn more about Epic Leisure Management, or of course to connect with you and your overall brand and to listen to Dr. D's Social Network podcast, what's the best way for them to reach out and to connect?
Yeah, so for Epic Leisure Management, the website is ELM Adventures, so like elm tree, elmadventures.com. So it gives you a very simple website, tells you what we do, who we are, what we're about. For the podcast, I'm on every major podcasting platform, whether it's Google, Apple, Stitcher, anything that's out there. You just type in Dr. D's Social Network, and you'll find me. And I think that'll be the best way for you to learn about me as a human being and the type of things that I'm interested in.
Awesome. Well, Darian, been great having you on the show today. Appreciate you coming on and sharing more about your background, all the great things you're doing over at Upper Leisure Management, and, of course, Dr. D's Social Network Podcast. Definitely want my audience to go check that out. Again, that's Dr. D's Social Network Podcast. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review in the Apple iTunes Store, and if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Fitness, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Darian, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.